All right, what's popping, party people? It's the return of the prodigal sons. It's your man, Professor Nims. I'm signing on for Boston Jared,
What up?
Coach Dave. Captain Moran could not join us tonight, but we felt like we had to kind of jump into this news cycle. We are the Pundits Pugilism, and we want to make sure that you do like and subscribe before we jump into our content. So we are going to touch upon briefly the unanimous decision win for Catterall over Josh Taylor this weekend. This was a rematch for a highly disputed win for Josh Taylor over Catterall. This is when Taylor was actually I think he was a unified. I don't know if he was still undisputed at the time when he fought Catterall, but a lot of people felt that Catterall had won that fight. So he had an opportunity to avenge that disputed loss, which he was able to do. This was not without controversy, but that controversy has kind of led us into a bit of a conundrum, so to speak. So there is some because it's 1-1 officially. There is some fervor for a third fight between Catterall and Josh Taylor, but Taylor, who is fairly young, and his only loss is to Josh Taylor, has his sights set on becoming a world champion. The problem is that he's a bit of a limited fighter, and he's probably fighting in right now the most talented weight division in boxing, which is the 140-pound weight division. So this boasts champions such as Devin Haney, who is still officially a champion because of not only Ryan Garcia testing positive, but even before that, he didn't even make weight for their bout. But we also have the likes of Teofimo Lopez, who's a champion at that weight division. Also, we also have Matias, who campaigns at that weight division. We also have Gary Antoine Russell. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but this just tells you the kind of obstacles that somebody like Catterall would have to overcome if he does want to finally become a world champion within this weight division. So we are going to talk a little bit about the fight this weekend, particularly if we felt that there it wasn't a fair decision going to Catterall. For me, myself, I thought that the right person won the fight. I thought that the scores, I believe it was two scores of 116 to 111. I thought that was a bit, I didn't see a 5-round advantage for any fighter in that bout. Right. And if you think about it, for a 12-round bout to have a 5-round, it was just so, it might have to be a point deducted, but you're looking at 8-4, with maybe a point deducted here, or maybe like 9-3, but that's a pretty big discrepancy.
It should have been 115, 113s across the board in that fight.
Yeah.
I didn't score.
Catterall,
You said what?
You said for Catterall? I know Professor
for Josh Taylor.
No, I mean, for whoever, I thought the fight was pretty close, man. Look, I like Catterall's work in that fight. Taylor came forward. He seemed very, very determined to get on his front foot early in that fight and really come forward and press the action. I mean, but the three of us, I mean, I've been watching boxing long enough. I know when guys are trying to influence the judge and steal rounds and do it by just coming forward. And Taylor times, right. And Taylor at times, it was really just kind of not a mindless pressure, but a really ineffective aggression. And Taylor was able to, Catterall was able to pick Taylor off coming in, really control the action with his jab, really dictate the pace with his jab. I thought Catterall
and hurt him on at least 2 occasions. Hurt him pretty.
He landed a big punch in the 11th round of that fight, and if he hadn't smothered his work, he could have gotten a knockdown. Look, he ended up winning the fight anyway.
I thought the referee gave him. I thought at one point And I think this might have been early on. Like, didn't he catch him early on? Because the 11th, he definitely hurt him with two big overhand rights. But I thought within the 5th round or something, or he caught him and he kind of rushed in a little bit and might have pushed him over.
I don't remember. I don't
I'll
remember
try to
that.
find
I
that.
remember. I remember the big punch in the 11th round, man, where he looked like he had hurt Taylor. Taylor recovered. But yeah, yeah, I would say this at the very least, Josh Taylor looked a lot better in losing this fight than he did in winning against Jose Ramirez, and certainly in the first Catterall fight and in the Teofimo Lopez fight.
You
He
thought he
looked
looked
like
better than against Jose? What you talking about? Was that the fight where he unified? Or
that was the fight where he undisputed, man. But the last 5 rounds of that fight was the beginning of the decline of Josh Taylor to me, man. The last 5 rounds of that fight, remember, that fight to me was artificially close. But I think he won like some split decision in that fight against Jose Ramirez. I don't think the fight
dropped
was that
him?
close.
Dropped Jose Ramirez with that left uppercut. That
He did, but the last 5 rounds of that Ramirez fight, and it's been a while, but to me, that was the beginning of the decline of Josh Taylor. And it wasn't until this last weekend that I saw that kind of that old Josh Taylor. He looked much better than he had. I know it was a losing effort, but to me, he still looked a lot better than he had. That being said, I may have to go back and score this fight. It was a close
it
fight.
was a close fight.
I favor the boxer normally. I don't like that Tony Harrison Jamil Charlo fight, the first one. I had Tony Harrison winning that first fight, and the fight kind of
think
played
I
out
had
similarly.
Charlo winning, even though I usually favor boxer, but I was trying to. I think I was trying to be fair, but I'm not sure. I think I had the feeling that Charlo won, and I didn't necessarily go and score it. And so
Neither did I.
I
Neither did
will
I.
say that. Yeah.
The fight, kind of the Catterall Taylor fight, played out not identically, but there
What
similarly to that fight where Charlo was coming forward, pressing the action. Taylor was coming forward, pressing the action, and Catterall was able to pick Josh Taylor off at times, coming in and really control the fight with his jab. Same way that Tony Harrison, I think, controlled the fight, picked Charlo off coming in, dictated the pace off of his back foot. Catterall did a lot of that in this fight. Now, Tony
and
Harrison
was able
never
to
landed a
hurt
shot
exactly. He
like the shot
never
that
hurt him.
Catterall landed in the
I thought
11th
it was a
round.
couple of. I thought it was a couple. I'm looking at him, but I'm pretty sure he in the 5th round he also hurt. But like the 11th round, he definitely because Josh Taylor was just dumbly. He was just so the pull counter he was open for it. This guy falls over his front foot when he throws a jab, and I'm like, this is an undisputed champion with these amateur-ish flaws that are.
Yeah, well, remember, he's got a lot more amateur fights than he's got, like most guys. But, Josh Taylor's got, 21 professional fights? 22? This is a guy, I don't know if he left the best of himself in the amateurs the way the Ukrainians and the Cubans and some of those guys do. As we are talking about a former undisputed champion here, but yeah. I agree. He's got flaws. He hasn't looked good his last couple of outings. And maybe part of that is why we have not seen him move up to 147 pounds, man. I have thought for the longest, after he undisputed, he should have moved up to 147 pounds. But given what we've seen over the last few fights, I think he'd have been food up there for some of those guys at 147 pounds, man. I'm not even talking about the top guys like Crawford or even Spence before the Crawford fight. I'm talking about even guys like Stanionis, guys like Stanionis, guys like Boots. He got cooked, I think, by some of them guys, man. Even a guy like Stanionis, I think Stanionis might have stopped Josh Taylor, especially the Josh Taylor we saw not this past weekend, but the last couple times out, man. I just, I don't know what he's still doing down there at 140 pounds, man. Like he
Yeah, I
undisputed,
think, yeah,
move up.
yeah. I always thought he was limited, which I was a little bit surprised, and I wanted to kind of give him credit for the win over Jose Ramirez. Um, but at the same time, I also want to be careful that a lot of times that because they're a little bit more the name fighter, we put a lot of bit of attention on to Josh Taylor. We want to also give some recognition to Catterall, who actually won the fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, to Jack Crowder, who won the fight, and a lot of people think he won the first fight. But coach, what do you think about his likelihood of being able to secure a title at 140 pounds? So give me 1 second. I'm a run down the champions in that weight divisions, and then we can kind of, and this is just the champions, right? So there are a lot of kind of top contenders that we haven't even kind of who haven't been able to weigh, who would still give Catterall some issues. So right now at 140 pounds, the WBC champion is Devin Haney. The IBF champion is Sabril Matias. And the WBO champion is Teofimo Lopez. He's also recognized as the ring champion for his victory over Josh Taylor. And then for the WBA, Isak Cruz is recognized as the champion, but there's also an interim champion in Ismael Barroso, who's also, so those are that's kind of the gauntlet that Jack Catterall would have to go to be able to secure a championship. And to be honest, I'm looking at that now because I'm not thinking about the interim champion. I'm thinking Devin Haney might be his best route, maybe in his lesser state. So, coach,
I mean, he's real quick before Dave goes for our audience here. Catterall is ranked 6th in the WBO. He'll move up to 5 in the WBO, which will put him right behind Sandor Martin, which is a fight that we could see. He's ranked number 3 in the IBF. There's no one ranked number 2. Richardson Hitchens is number 1 in the IBF. So that's another fight that we might see on the horizon. The Hitchens Catterall. Catterall is ranked 5 in the WBA behind Prograis. That's an interesting fight, and a fight that I think Prograis would take. Catterall is ranked 5 in the WBC, also behind Hitchens. Tough for me to see Catterall beating Hitchens.
Right.
But yeah. But
right.
Go ahead, Dave. I just want to give that for context.
Well, now, hey, bro. I mean, y'all took my answers, man. I mean, look. Y'all answers, bro. So I'll just say this: Haney is his best shot, but that ain't gonna be no walk in the park on no level. I don't care how bad of a thumping that he took from Ryan Garcia, and the dude is not going to beat Hitchens. To be honest with you, I would probably Prograis would be the individual that I would fight. So both of you guys, you literally took the two individuals in terms of looking at it from a championship level, and then honestly, guys, looking at it from just coming through the ranks, who could he get? Let me be blunt with you, man. Look, this dude, to answer your question, what's the likelihood of him becoming a champion? It's like the likelihood of me doing a Michael Jordan type of dunk when Jordan was in his prime.
Dang.
I'm probably the only black man that can't jump. You know what I'm saying? And can't dunk. This dude ain't winning shit. He's not. Back to what Boston always talk about, and he had to humble me out, but I had to learn to embrace this term: strength of opposition. Get beyond Josh Taylor and go take a look at this guy's box rec, man. You fighting cats 3-90, 15 and 163. Take a look at this guy's box rec, man. This guy try to step up to get one of them belts, and he's gonna get hurt. So I don't care who across the pond likes this guy. This cat ain't winning jack. He's not.
No pun intended. I
No
think
pun
part
intended.
of that is Coach is referring to is that within his first 3 fights, his first fight he fought somebody who was 18 and 100. That's
Are you seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Then the next person he fought was 3 and 90. These are losses. And then the third person he fought was 18 and 104. And then the fourth person, he stepped it up with this one. He was 4 and 19. So
look, but look, let's just to be fair, it's not like the guy can't fight. The guy's a solid fighter. I just don't see him breaking past the top 5. And I get it. And in the UK, if you look at a bunch of these UK fighters' resumes, you will see guys with those records on a lot of these UK fighters' resumes.
Yeah.
It's something you see over there.
We also want to be fair, right? So he does have victories over O'Hara Davies, who at the time was 18 and 1, and was somebody who was, at least in the UK, was kind of touted. He lost his first fight against Josh Taylor. That was a split decision loss. I actually thought he won that fight.
Yeah, he dropped Taylor in that fight too.
And then he did. And then recently he fought and beat Jorge Linares, who is
in a very underwhelming performance.
Yeah. He was 47 and 8, and this is not the world beater. So, and then I'm not even talking about the guy who fought Devin Haney or Lomachenko. When he was an undefeated up and coming champion, he was something to behold. I want to be clear. I mean, this is not the version of the fighter.
He was pretty good. He was pretty good. I mean, but okay, go ahead, finish.
Okay, look, man. Let me finish my point based off of what look, man. I don't confuse being sound on the fundamentals of boxing. That's been sound on the fundamentals. Let me stay in my boxing stance. Let me work behind my jab. That was a basic fundamentals. That don't mean you can fight to me.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, Dave. And we'll run back through. To me, and like Cam has pointed out, this is the best division in boxing. But we all know the styles. We all know the styles make fights. Let me ask you this: Arnold Barboza is the #1 guy in the WBO. Would you pick Barboza to beat Jack Catterall? Given what we saw from Barboza against that kid McCumbee.
No, that guy, I'm saying no. I'm saying no.
Let me I think his fundamentals can get him through it. I think his fundamentals can get him through it. And I admit, man, I might not be just a solid fan of Catterall, bro, but my thing of it is this. You just taking me from this guy, solidly going after these champions. I don't care if this cat is an interim champion. I mean, you name, my mind thinks Teofimo, Matias, can he get a title? That's no. Put me down to Barboza.
That's a good point.
You see what I'm saying? You drop me down in terms of the opposition that he's going at. I give him a 50-50 chance with Barboza, man. And I maybe 60-40 to Catterall, bro. But it ain't, bro. He can't fight these top guys, bro. He can't fight these guys, bro.
What about Isaac Cruz?
No, he might get hurt with Cruz, bro.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I think Isak put something to him.
Cruz might get really, really hurt with Cruz, bro.
You gotta think about Cruz. So it's not even the kind of demolition job that he did on Rolly material. Like, he was one of the few people. I mean, there's an asterisk that's with this, but he's one of the few people that I saw who's ever made Tank look a little bit uncomfortable in the ring, like, just because of his movement, his quickness, and has to be part of his strength. And also, I think he has underrated defense that people.
Also shorter than Tank too, which was I'm sure a first for Tank fighting somebody who was shorter than he is.
It is, but
Which
he was bouncing some punches off of Tank's head. Tank took him well.
he did. Dave will tell you that Tank was hurt during that fight, and I believe he
No, and
was. Like
that's why
he had a
that's
legit.
the only
He had
reason I
a,
even mentioned the asterisks, which that he did have
but
some
it's
problems
worth it. It's also worth mentioning that he hurt his hand on Isaac Cruz's head.
head. Yeah.
Right. It's not like his hand was hurt going into the fight, unless Dave knows something that the rest of us don't.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he hurt his hand on Cruz's head. Yeah. And I said in the pre-pro, it's tough having watched Catterall now. That Linares fight really, really, really cooled me. I mean, I really, really expected him to go in there and get Linares out of there. And when he didn't, and the way the fight played out was real kind of a lackluster fight, man. It really made me cool on this guy.
He's limited.
Yeah, look,
He's limited, is the best way to kind of
he's a very, very stereotypical UK kind of boxer. Yeah, it kind of reminds me. He's like Carl Froch light almost. Like he's not as good as Carl Froch.
Yeah, I won't say not as good. Carl Froch was a champion that laid out
He was. Carl
knocked
Froch
out
is a better
Jermaine
fighter.
Taylor. Yeah.
This guy is kind of like a light version of Carl Froch is what he reminds me of, man. He's got like
I thought you were gonna say
not a
Carl
natural
Frampton.
slickness, kind of like a learned slickness, like somebody showed him like he's copying, kind of like I don't know. Yeah, I just his success in this division is going to depend entirely upon who he's matched against, which doesn't put him in bad company because I believe that Devin Haney's success at 140 pounds is going to depend entirely on who he's matched against, along with Isaac Cruz and Ishmael Barroso. Teofimo Lopez is another guy who I think his success in this division is going to depend on who he's matched up against. Matias, to me, Gary Antoine Russell are the guys that can really take this division by the scruff of the neck and put this shit in a fucking sleeper hold and take this division over. Those are the two
not
guys.
sold on Gary Antoine Russell. I mean, you got Teofimo is a two-time champion. He has Lomachenko, Taylor, and like some
and
he has some legitimate. Like, how many world champions has Antoine fought compared to Teofimo?
I mean, he fought what's it called? Barthelme. I think Barthelme is his one, and that fight was on its way to becoming the fight of the year. And then that official over at the harbor stepped in and he stopped that fight prematurely. So one. Rancis Barthelme is the one guy I can think of.
He's got two because Victor Postal was a former champion.
Oh, that's right. And he beat Postal in a fight that was also stopped prematurely. I think that
it was.
Antoine Russell was on his way to winning that fight. Also, it's worth mentioning that the Russians had just invaded Ukraine like the day before that fight happened, and Victor Postal hadn't heard from his family in like 48 hours. So yes. Okay, yeah. Gary's got some good names. That Postal win, not necessarily best. To me, with Gary Antoine Russell is more the eye test. He's a guy with pedigree and a skill set where I can throw him in there against any of the top guys at 140, 1 through 10, and Gary Antoine Russell's got a chance at winning. If I put Teofimo Lopez in there against a guy like a Sandor Martin, when we saw him fight Sandor, he really struggled against Sandor Martin. To me, he struggled against Jermaine Ortiz. Isaac Cruz struggled against Giovanni Cabrera. We saw Devin Haney, what happened when he got in there against Ryan Garcia. Matias is the one guy, despite having that loss, that has steamrolled guys in this division. None of these top guys, because he hasn't had a chance to unify, but guys like Jukembayev, I think that's how you pronounce his name, guys like Malik Hawkins, who was a real player at 140 pounds at the time, and a few other guys. Not Hardatunian. There was another Armenian guy that actually beat him, who he came back and he stopped. The guy who he unfortunately killed. Who was that guy that he killed? I can't remember his name. Look, again, yeah, to me, this is Matias's division. Matias, I can throw him in there against any of these guys in the top 5, the top 10, and I think I would pick Matias to win.
Hey, even Shakur said, Matias would be a tough fight. Even Shakur said, hey, that would be a tough fight for him.
Yeah. This guy Matias is not to be fucked with, man. He's serious business. And he's not just some mindless brawler. We're gonna get to see him. He's fighting that same weekend that Tank is fighting. I don't know whose job it is to schedule these fights, but I don't know why you put Matias in a Puerto Rico fight against Liam Paro, who's another player at 140 pounds. Why you put him up against Tank? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But we're going to get a chance to see Matias real soon. Yeah. To me, this is Matias's division. And Gary Antoine Russell has a real shot here at being able to become champion, unify. Catterall and Taylor, to me, are better off fighting each other again and making a trilogy fight in the UK. I think that's the best business move for them, and it's the best professional move for them. I think Catterall gets stopped if he goes in there against a guy like Gary Antoine Russell, and I think he gets soundly and convincingly outboxed by a guy like Richardson Hitchens.
Yeah. So back to my point, whenever you see me do a dunk like Michael Jordan in his prime, he'll win the title.
Yeah. That's when you know Catterall will become the undisputed champion at 140. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Probably not going to happen, man. I'm almost certain you'll see these guys, Taylor and Catterall will run. We'll fight again. Yeah. You won't see Catterall or Taylor in there against any of these other guys at 140 pounds. Where's Cam? Did we lose Cam?
I don't know, man. I hope not. Let me see. He looked like he froze. Let me try to.
I think I was just muted.
Okay,
We're gonna go ahead and wrap up this segment.
Yeah.
I did want to, because I didn't realize I was muted, but I wanted to say that the guy who you were referring to earlier was Maxim Dadashev, the Russian who lost. Mad Max was the guy who had lost, so we want to make sure that we do pay respects to that. But does anybody have any closing remarks that they have regarding Jack Catterall and his potential at 140 pounds? I'm with the pundits here. I think it's highly unlikely. I don't necessarily agree that Matias and Antoine Russell are the cream of the crop when it comes to this division. I think that we have a little more skillful boxer punchers here that will be able to kind of nullify them. But that's what makes it exciting. I think they're clearly the most exciting fighters. Well,
Who would you pick to beat Matias?
I would pick Teofimo to beat him. I think that Teofimo
really?
at his ceiling or whatnot. We've seen him. He has a lot of variance to his performances, but I think at his ceiling, I think that he would beat him. Matias. I think that his feet and his quick twitch. He's just a little bit more of an athletic boxer than Matias, who's a little bit more prodding. And I think that he's somebody that might even be tailor-made for a Teofimo Lopez.
Not much output. Yeah, 5, 6, 7, 8 punches around, big, explosive, quick twitch, all that shit. But if he catches Matias clean on the chin and Matias looks at him and smiles, which I think is what's going to happen, that he's going to be in for a very long night. And his father, his trainer, is not going to have any answers in that
I'll
corner.
definitely agree with you on that, though. But
Teofimo Senior is not going to have any answers in that corner.
But I think that, I mean, Teofimo, his last few years has kind of been a who's who when it comes to boxing, and like Matias, he has looked dominant, but it's like you are
You're right.
really
Against the second tier, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? When you look at the fighters that he beat, like you have to be a boxing aficionado to kind of know some of his. But he is that menace. But that's what I mean. That's what we like about boxing, is that you can kind of settle all of these hypotheticals in the ring.
Right.
All right. So we're gonna end this up, and we will be back with another segment. That's just so. I mean, we could talk so long on that subject right there.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about the pound for pound, but I'm gonna talk about it from the framework of Usyk beating Fury, and then kind of go from there. And then if you got any opinions on who actually won that fight, then we can use that as an opportunity to kind of talk about his you know ability to be a dominant heavyweight champion.
So that's gonna it might bleed into the top discussion about.
Yeah, hold on one second.